Hi everyone, and welcome to our new moon in Capricorn online gathering. I've been enjoying planning these new moon and full moon gatherings. It kind of has been suiting where I am currently, I guess in life in general, and just kind of making time to pause and reflect and go a little bit deeper. And it's kind of nice because it's every 2 weeks, so at least twice a month. I know I slow down and kind of reflect, and then it's nice to be able to offer others to join me in this, whether you're live with me or watching the replay or listening to it as a podcast episode. Today, I feel a pull to, like, very momentarily we'll do some deep breaths and kind of settle in. But it's interesting because I've been feeling resistance to doing research beforehand to like prep, and it's so very much like my Virgo energy to want to like have the list and have the bullet points and be super prepared beforehand, like not always as far ahead, but at least like feel like I'm prepared. And I, over the last while, I felt this resistance to doing that, which I'm combating it, but it's also an invitation to do things differently and to really just sink in kind of beforehand, whether it be that day, whether it be just before, and figure out where I am and where I want to go. It is quite unnerving because I do feel a lot of pressure to kind of perform and deliver a good session and stuff, but I've just been kind of surrendering and leaning into what I meant to say will come through in the way that it's meant to. And I do a little bit of like a meditation and almost like a prayer beforehand as I'm grounding in, and just set the intention that the message or messages that are meant to come through will in the way that they're meant to, for the ears that are meant to hear it in the perfect timing. And then I kind of just let the rest go. So before we really kind of dive in and sink in, I invite you to just take a few breaths, sink back into your body, depending on where you're listening to this in your day. If it's, in the evening, I like doing the evening sessions because it's kind of a nice way to wind down before bedtime. This allows us an opportunity to kind of shake off the day a little bit, or what's been going on, and calm that noise in our mind, not only to come back into the present moment as a mindful practice, but it also prepares us, and it's an invitation to be able to kind of get the most of the session, right? Because when our mind's racing, we're kind of in our head. The first thing we need to do is get back into our body, so then we can just be fully present with the delivery of whatever we're listening to, so that we can actually absorb it and take away from it, right? So I'll give you a few moments to just kind of connect back with your breath. If things have been extra topsy-turvy, feel free to put one or both hands on your chest, hand over heart. That just kind of connects you somatically back into your body. It brings you more into the present in that moment. I do find that when I'm feeling anxious, my first thing is to put my hand over my heart, or maybe one on my heart and one on my belly, and then just observe my breath and consciously change it and deepen it, so that I can send those signals to my body that it's safe, and then just kind of go from there and maybe get a little introspective as to like what's coming up for me and why I'm feeling that way. But for tonight, I just invite you to take some deep breaths, come back into your body, come back into the present moment. Breathe in through your nose. You can hold it at the top for a little bit of a pause, and then breathe out either through your nose or your mouth. If you need more of a release, then I would invite you to breathe out through your mouth. And just a reminder that the exhale make it longer than the inhale. That's what brings us into that parasympathetic, that rest and digest state. That's what sends the signals to our body that we're safe. Eyes open, eyes closed, whatever feels comfortable and safe to you. And just imagine the day kind of melting away. Shake it off a little bit if you need to. Once you start taking a few breaths, you might notice if you have a little bit of the wiggles you need to kind of let out. Notice if your tongue is on the top of your mouth. Bring it back down. That's a sign of stress. Notice if your jaw feels clenched. Relax it. And notice where your shoulders are too. They feel like they're up near your ears. That's also a sign of stress. So bring them back down. Maybe do a few little rolls forward and backward. And then just kind of take inventory at where you are, kind of before, during, and after on a scale of 1 to 10. How kind of activated you feel. And just notice how the deep breaths can kind of de-escalate and bring that stress response down. So I'll stop chattering and we'll just give you a couple more moments to take some more deep breaths. Imagine any chatter in your mind just kind of floating away, or put it in a trunk or a chest or something in the meantime so it's not taking over. Couple more deep breaths. Now it's interesting, over the last few times that I've done these circles or recordings and stuff, I do go in and look up some of the themes of the sign that the new moon or the full moon is in, and kind of the traits, so that it just gives an opportunity to look at different parts of ourselves. It's just a nice way to kind of keep an inventory and have a mindfulness practice. But what I can say about this time is I decided, because lately it has been my intention to do a session, do a gathering, do a recording, whatever that might look like, on winter and like slowing down and really embracing the season of winter and the symbolism and stuff like that. And because originally I was going to do the intention setting workshop this month. I did it January of last year and then I think December of the year before. But the more that I've been leaning into the seasons and cycles of nature, it feels out of alignment now. So what I decided was I want to do the intention setting workshop, not for the calendar year, but in the spring, when really that's nature's new year. It's also the astrological new year. Aries is the start of the astrological cycle. So I decided to do that. And also in reflection, thinking about different ways and just kind of the hype of goals and intentions and all this stuff, and how commonly in kind of mainstream it's done around the calendar new year, like January 1st. And one thing that I have learned that I no longer resonate with is kind of the premise of a lot of the time how it's delivered. And what I think is really missing in how we set intentions and goals and then start to actually like work with them is we're not taught to pause and kind of like check ourselves and do some of the preparation work that we need in order to have the actual capacity to carry out the work towards our dreams, right? And actually take those steps, because the reality is we live in a very fast-paced, high-stress society where our nervous systems are often on overdrive. Burnout is very common. And the truth is, we can't create, we can't manifest, we can't bring our goals and our dreams and our intentions to life when our body is in survival mode. If our nervous system is not nourished, if it's over, if it doesn't have the capacity, if the capacity is, I see it as like constricted, right? We're only truly from like a somatic perspective focusing on survival. So, but we're taught that like just push through, just hustle, and there's this great need for willpower. And from what I've been learning and kind of understanding in my own experience, that willpower is for the sprints. It's for those like short bursts of getting something started, but then it's the long game. And especially when we have goals that are really soul led, there's no real timeline. It has to be done by this time. We're kind of setting ourselves up for failure a lot of the times when we do that. It's just what do we feel pulled to, and let that be the thing we're magnetized to, regardless of how long it takes. So I decided that in addition to going over a couple of the themes with Capricorn and this new moon and what the symbolism is and stuff, I wanted to combine it, and I feel really pulled to just kind of talk about winter season and how to nourish our bodies and go into that with a meditation and some self-reflection, something that we can kind of ponder during the meditation, but then notice what comes up for you. And then afterwards, I invite you, if you would like to just jot down some of those notes of what was coming up. Any limiting beliefs, any things that maybe somatically your body's telling you, your soul's telling you that you haven't been listening to or haven't heard because of the hustle and bustle and often living in our minds. This is an opportunity to sink in and listen to that voice and hear it, maybe for the first time in a long time, right? So I'll go into a little bit of the themes. I have a little bit of notes, but not a long list, just a scrap piece of paper. So main theme for this new moon in Capricorn is new long-term intentions. It can set setting. Oh my gosh, I can't even read my own writing. New long-term intention setting moment, rooted in maturity, mastery, and self-respect. So I think we have to do some reflection before we can move forward with those things. And the invitation is to get aligned with your values, your vision, and your actions for any long-term goals that you have. The vibe here is slow and steady, and that's what I think is the other reason I felt very pulled to talk about winter and how we can prepare for spring, for the new year in nature, because spring is when you plant the seeds, right? If you think, I always think about farming. I come from families that were farmers, and my husband's dad still farm, like husband and brother or father and brother farm. So I think of those I've been losing my words lately. I got a little bit of brain fog, but the parallels. So spring is really that time when you plant those seeds and you start to do what you need to do to kind of nourish them for growth. But winter is the in-between. After the harvest, after you've harvested and tilled or turned over the ground, preparing it for the next season, but then you have kind of that time between. And I know lots of farmers, they'll do their tinkering and they'll kind of do the maintenance on their farm equipment in that off time, that slow time, and just kind of whatever they need to do to prepare for the next season. And so for us, and what I've been pulled towards is really taking a look at our nervous system. Is our nervous system even prepared to carry out the actions and walk the walk that we would like to, the journey we would like to go on in order to go towards what we desire? And if it's not, what do we need to do in preparation to then start moving towards these goals? So this is kind of today or this evening, whenever you're watching it, it's kind of like laying the groundwork, the preparation, and in the next couple months leading up to spring equinox, when we then plant the seeds and we start to kind of move forward. So right now we're just kind of in this slow, steady, nourishing spot. Capricorn is, as a sign, is known to be stern, structured, overly disciplined. It knows that what is built slowly often lasts the longest. So this is making sure that the house, the building, the skyscraper we want to build has a solid, sturdy foundation. Spend more time on the foundation, because if it's not solid, if it hasn't been done well and poured in the right conditions and set and left for enough time, then the structure that you're hoping to build above it, it's not going to last. And the other note that I wrote is to ground in and move from a grounded energy in place. And that's how we set ourselves up, is through kind of nervous system and work. So to go into that a little bit, I've kind of already talked a little bit about the winter season, but when I think of nervous system work, I think of like resourcing ourselves, and really we can't support our nervous system if we don't have our basic needs covered. And to me, that's movement, sleep being the most important, and also what we're putting into our body, how we're in our nutrition and stuff, how we're feeding ourselves. When we can focus on those things and really focus in on our body and making sure that it's taken care of, we build, it's one of the foundational ways to build safety. Obviously, there's lots of different branches in terms of healing and releasing trauma and that type of stuff, but I'm not going to go kind of down that road. There's an awareness of that is part of the journey. And just, doing the everyday things that remind our body that it's safe. One thing I've been meaning to bring into the routine after we do our breaths at the beginning, if we had our eyes closed, and perhaps hopefully I'll remember at the end of this meditation, but one thing I've learned, it's called orienting. So when you have your eyes closed, say you do a meditation, once we open our eyes, the invitation is to actually not look back at the screen, but to look around into our surroundings further out, because that gives us a bit of more of a scan, and that also sends signals to our brain that we're safe. There's nothing going on around us. We can kind of look around the room, just kind of orient back to our surroundings before we're kind of tunnel vision back into a screen or into our phone, right? Because that's kind of more like when we're focused on one thing, it could be, our brain could kind of perceive it more of like a threat. So it's nice to kind of see the big surroundings that we're like, oh, we're good. And that sends those signals to our brain. So what I think we'll do, I think we'll sink into a bit of a meditation. We'll see where we go. Like I said, a lot of this is just unscripted. I am just kind of going with what comes through to me. One of my strongest intuitive sense is clairvoyance. clairvoyance, which is clear seeing. So I receive a lot of images in my mind's eye, and that helps me to guide and kind of direct the meditation. I am also it's come to my awareness that not everyone has strong or the ability to really like visualize things in their mind's eye. Sometimes it's shadows or just like slightness or just nothing. So I've been kind of learning how to adapt that to be more accessible to those who have intuitive senses that are different than clairvoyant. So throughout the meditation, it could be things like just senses that you get in your body, sensations. It could be if you hear words, it'll like in your mind, it'll sound like your own voice, but it won't feel like a thought, right? It'll feel like it was directed at you, or just like this knowing. If you just kind of get an understanding of something, that's claircognizance. You might get other sensations, hearing or like smelling, tasting, however that looks for you. It's all normal. We all have different kind of strengths in those areas. So I've been learning to present my meditations to be more well-rounded for those who have different senses that are more heightened. Okay, so I digress. We will start again with kind of sinking in. I'll invite you, if it feels safe, if it feels comfortable, you're welcome to close your eyes now. If you need to take a little drink of water before we start, or grab a blanket, just make sure you're nice and comfortable. I'm going to take a couple deep breaths again to kind of sink back into our body, into the present. And what we're going to do today is we're going to connect with our body and our soul, like our higher self, that part of us that carries the wisdom that our logical mind could never come up with. Often this, however you receive the information, be it in pictures, be it in these thoughts that come through to you, be it in just this knowing or feelings and sensations, this is how we receive the nudges, the wisdom that when we quiet our minds and we sink into our bodies, we become available for. And oftentimes it's profound. The other way you can, if you happen to be more like you hear messages, like they're thoughts in your mind, they'll be kind of one way that you can tell the difference between your own thoughts and something that's coming from your intuition or higher power, wherever that's coming from, is the message will be direct and there's no like fluffy, like it doesn't ramble. The message will be clear and direct and just straight to the point, kind of short sentences. It's very like profound. It just kind of comes in and you know right away. So that's how I understand it from my experience and how I've been taught as well. The voice is clear, it's straight to the point. There's no like extra chitter chatter. So if you've followed me on my journey, we're going to kind of sink into a soul space within ourselves. Now, this is a safe place that we go to. You can imagine like sinking into your heart space, and then however that looks or feels for you, it could be a favorite place that you love to go and be, like your favorite place in the whole world. it can be anything that kind of comes up for you when you're just imagining going somewhere very safe where you can kind of listen and tune in and not worry about anything that's happening around you. For me, I see like a path and kind of a gate, like a secret garden, and then I go into like a meadow and there's a swing set. That's my safe place. So whatever that looks like for you, I invite you to just take a moment and journey into that place and arrive there. And when you arrive there, I invite you first, do a little orienting. I invite you to look around if you're visual. If you're more like senses, notice the feelings that you have of being in that space. How does it feel? Do you feel warmth? Could be an indication that there's sun shining if you don't see it. Do you feel the presence of a loved one? Perhaps someone who's crossed over that you love dearly. Do you feel the presence beside you? There's a familiarity. Just kind of get comfortable in that space, however that looks or feels. Or do you notice sounds? Do you hear birds chirping? Do you hear the wind or leaves rustling? What is that space like for you? Just kind of acclimatize to it. Make yourself feel welcome. If this is the first time you've done this, perhaps you can introduce yourself into that space and thank it for being a safe place for you to go. And just know that it is always available for you. Regardless of what life is throwing your way, you can always take some deep breaths, come back into the space, get quiet, ask the questions that you need answers for, get curious, see what comes up. And we're just going to do a check-in. Even before we start even hinting or getting curious about the seeds we want to plant in the spring, this is a time where we go into the depths. Think about reaching down into the soil and starting to establish roots, getting comfortable with the darkness before the light returns. We're going to do a little bit of self-reflection, just kind of see where we're at. And just know that whatever comes up is perfect for this moment, for the season that you're in. There's nothing wrong. There's nothing wrong with you. When we can look at what is with love and safety, it's just an entirely different perspective on how to move forward. And the other thing that's coming to me right now is just the emphasis of this space that you've created for yourself, be it in your mind's eye, heart space, however that looks for you or feels or sounds. It is fully enveloping you with love, unconditional love and safety. anything that happens here is okay. It's perfect. It's fully forgiving. There's no judgment. It's here to hold you in whatever comes up and accept you. So I want you to take a moment and let's ask our body if it has a message for us. Is there something that it needs from us that we haven't heard its whispers or its urgency for? Allow it a moment to have the room and tell you what it needs or give you a message. Maybe you have been on a journey of wellness and working with your body. Maybe this is the moment when it tells you what a wonderful job you've been doing and what has been really working for it. And maybe it also has feedback on what maybe you could add or switch out to help support it more. Sometimes our mind can override what we think our body needs without letting it talk. So this is just an opportunity. Just give it a moment. See if anything comes up. And just welcome it with love as just neutral feedback. Just having a conversation. Being a loving friend to your body. Holding that space for it as it holds space for you. And while we're in conversation with our body, let's focus on a couple specific things, ask a couple questions, and allow space to receive answers and feedback. The first topic that is coming through to me is sleep. Let's take a moment and reflect on our recent sleep patterns and get some feedback from our body. Is our current sleep pattern supporting our body, or is it making getting through the day more difficult? And if you feel that your sleep's been out of whack, ask it what would be helpful to support it in getting restful sleep. Do you need to commit to a bedtime each night? This is when we kind of ponder our sleep hygiene and to give a couple tips that you can reflect on in this moment. Are you on your phone until those last moments before lights out? Would your body like you to perhaps put the phone down an hour or whatever time it gives to help your brain wind down? You can bring your soul in for this one a little bit. Is there a really nourishing bedtime routine that would help your mind, your body, and your soul to wind down before sleep? Maybe you spend a half hour reading a book. You could do some journaling. Just do a bit of a meditation, whether it's guided or kind of let your higher self take you where you need to go. What does that look like? What does your body need? Would a warm shower or bath feel nice? That helps the body to prepare for sleep. And while I'm giving these suggestions, you can notice too, since we're in our bodies, if you feel like maybe a yes and a no feels like, if you can feel the difference. You can ask yourself those questions I've just brought to your attention and see how it kind of hits, or if there's additional feedback that you get kind of intuitively through your senses. Just thinking about sleep and how you set yourself up each day, starting with the night before. When that feels complete, let's move on to nutrition. Ask your body, is it getting what it needs? Are there any foods that it would like you to reduce or eliminate? Is there anything that you crave that your body can now kind of declare in a louder way with you listening that you need to incorporate more of? Take a couple moments and invite a bit of a discussion, pondering of food and drinks, or water. Does your body need more water, or is it getting what it needs? You can also, if you're struggling at all to kind of be in conversation, ask your body to show you what a yes feels like. It could literally be like leaning forward, or back could be leaning back. Ask it to show you a signal in the way that you can best receive through your intuitive senses, so that you can ask these yes or no questions and feel what the answer is, or know what the answer is, or see what the answer is, however that looks for you. We'll just give it a moment and then we'll move on. when you feel like you've kind of wound that down, or you can continue. The next topic we're going to visit and invite conversation or feedback is movement, how we're moving our bodies. Are we moving our bodies in a way that supports it? You know, especially for women who have a menstrual cycle, we go through 4 different phases of our cycle, and our body needs different things during each. So perhaps you can use this as an invitation to look at where you are in your cycle. If you don't have a cycle, just what does your body need in this season for movement? Does it need gentle stretching? Maybe some yoga, a little bit of strength training? Is it craving some high intensity cardio? Is it wanting you to get moving? Or does it feel overtaxed and is asking you to slow down? Maybe you're in a bit of a winter. I know I'm in a personal kind of winter right now. So just feel free to ask whatever questions kind of come up for you and invite feedback or a response and see what comes up. For those who are ready to move on, I now invite us to kind of go bigger picture a little bit and offer or invite feedback on any more general messages and feedback from our body, even now from our higher self, our soul, on anything that we need to lean into and embrace and do to prepare for our next season of action, when we actually plant the seeds and start watering and fertilizing our intentions. I say plant the seeds, but seeds of our intentions. Is there anything else that hasn't been addressed through those main kind of themes? What comes to mind immediately is there any topics of healing, things we've been holding on to that we need to let go in preparation of where we want to go next? Because these things that we hold on to become anchors, and they keep us where we are, and they keep us still and stagnant. So is there anything in this season of quiet and reflection and going deep and listening that we need to let go of, perhaps through counseling, or if you have a life coach, or your own introspection, if you have your own way of releasing some of these emotional things? Is there anything that needs to be addressed to prepare you? And also just any last messages in general. Anything else you need to know that would be helpful on your journey to support your body, to support your soul. Are there any indications in everyday life that you can look out for that is your body, is your soul trying to get your attention? Ask it. Is there anything in my everyday life? What are the ways that you try to reach me that I can be more mindful of so that I can pick up on it and then make time and space to get back into my body, get quiet, and listen to what you need to say? What are those nudges? What do they look like? I'll give you a moment to explore that a little bit. See what comes up. Whenever you feel complete with that part, take this opportunity to thank our body, thank our soul for its vulnerability, for its truth, with the intention of having clear communication with us so that we can work closer together and support each other in these different parts of ourselves. I invite you to thank the space that has held you with so much unconditional love and support, non-judgment. And then when you're ready, I invite you to leave that heart space, whichever way makes sense to you with your intuitive senses. Make your way back into the rest of your body, into this room. And then when you're ready, without looking at the screen first, when you're ready to open your eyes, if they're closed, I invite you to just take 10 or 15 seconds and just look around the room. Just observe your kind of greater surroundings. Take a moment to just come back into the present. And before we fully finish this recording, I'm going to edit this tonight and schedule it as a podcast episode for tomorrow. But what I would like to invite anyone who listens and hears it soon enough, my friend Katie, who does tension and trauma release exercises called TRE. It's a somatic practice and it helps to release tension and trauma in the body. She is offering on Tuesday, January 18th, so the 20th, at noon Eastern Time and 8 p.m. Eastern Time. She's offering free session each time to try out TRE, see if you like it. And it is held on Zoom. She does need to see you because she just makes sure that you have the right posture and such, and just kind of is able to observe you especially the first few times before you are kind of have the experience to start your own practice perhaps. But I just wanted to kind of give that invitation. I will put the link in both the Living on Lemonade group. There are limited spots, so it's kind of first come, first serve, and also in the show notes for the podcast. And yeah, then if you want to just kind of check Katie's workout, we are going to collaborate. I would like to offer monthly TRE sessions within the Living on Lemonade community, for those who would like to try it and establish their own TRE practice. I've done it a few times and it's remarkable. It's very subtle. There's no it's a beautiful way to release trauma and tension in your body without having to re-experience it as you would with like talk therapy. You just set an intention and let your body do what it knows how to do. And I know for myself and the women who I've done it with, very relaxed at the end of the session. We often go and have a nap. It's just a beautiful, beautiful somatic practice to release what we're holding, that we're not taught how to release otherwise. So I just wanted to give that invitation to kind of finish out this session. And thank you for joining me whenever you listen or watch this. And I hope everyone's doing well. I'm sending virtual hugs, and we'll talk soon. Bye, everyone.